He's always given it to us. When was the last time we asked for the ability to breathe? Yet He gives us that. If He gives us things that we don't ask for, of course He'll give us things that we ask for. Without a doubt. But we need this presence of heart. It's the underlying factor. And presence of heart doesn't mean that we have to speak in Arabic. Presence of heart doesn't mean that we have to open books and read from books. When the Imams would recite to Allah, would talk to Allah, not recite. Recite tends to have this connotation of melody. When the Imams would talk to Allah, they wouldn't open books and talk to Him. They would speak from their hearts directly. What is inside them came out. Hence you see the power of these adiyah. Why? Because they were from the hearts, not just from the tongues and the minds. But today if we want to recite the dua, we have to open a book. Why? Why can't you just sit in front of Allah, bayna yadayhi Allah, and speak to Him from your heart? Don't get me wrong. The best supplications are the supplications from the Imams, without a doubt. But sometimes this vessel isn't big enough. It's not vast enough to hold the whole of Dua Kumel. But every Thursday we have to recite it. What happens if I don't have a connection with Dua Kumel? Then what? Why can't I recite something else on Thursday night? Yes, it's the most recommended dua, but I don't have a connection with it. It's talking about forgiveness. I want to talk about love. I want to thank Allah. So find another dua. Go to the 15 whispered prayers. Find Munajatu Shakirin. Speak to Allah from there. If you can't find this dua, speak directly, heart to heart. That's what the Imams did. That's what they've taught us. That's what we need to do. Speak to Him from our hearts. And when we do recite from books, make sure we recite that which is coming from our hearts. Because if it's not coming from our hearts, then it's a lie. If we ask Allah, Allah forgive me, but I'm not actually desiring forgiveness, then it's a lie. I've mentioned this before. When we break our fast, what do we say? Allahumma laka sumtu. Oh Allah, I fasted for you. Really? Did you and me really fast for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? If you and me actually fasted for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then our eyes would not have committed sin. Our tongues would not have committed sin. None of our limbs would have committed sin. Even our heart would have been free from everything but Allah. That's the real fast. But we also know that when you lie, your fast breaks. So many of us break our fast, not with food, by lying. By simply stating to Allah that I fasted for you when I never really fasted for you. We have to make sure that everything we speak, when we speak to Allah, everything we say has to be sincere, from the heart. Don't we have this hadith, Inna Allah la yandur ila suwarikum, bal yandur ila qulubikum? That Allah doesn't look at your image. He looks at what's in your hearts. You and me know that. The breath of one who's fasting, according to what is known in the world, is not a good smell. But Allah says it's more beautiful to Him than musk. It's a different rules and regulations when you come to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He doesn't look at how you're weeping with these eyes. He looks at these eyes. He doesn't look at what you're saying with this tongue. He looks at what's within the heart. A different rule and regulation when you come to Allah. Even Imam Khomeini, when he was talking about Dua Abu Hamza, he said try and recite it in 3 sections. This is just advice. No one has to do it, but his advice. He said try and recite it in 3 different sections. Why? Because it's such a powerful dua. It's so weighty that the normal heart cannot endure that entire dua. It becomes heedless. How many times has it happened to us, especially when we're young? We open the dua book. Today we're saying Dua Abu Hamza. We open the dua book in Ramadan. 1 page goes by and we start flicking the pages. How many pages left of this dua? Why? Because there's no presence. No presence of heart in this dua. We're just saying it with lip service. And it does the opposite effect. There's a hadith that say that there's some people who pray salah, but they actually get further away from Allah than closer to Him. Why? Because there's no presence of heart. Finally, I wanted to read a few sections of some of the dua of Abu Hamza. Just show you how the Imam speaks to Allah in a very informal manner. Before I say that, there's one hadith, I'm not going to find it word for word, but it's in this book, hadith number 2118. The Imam, 2118. The Imam says that seize the opportunity of a tender heart, of a broken heart. This is another key, a secret. When you have a broken heart and you turn to Allah, whatever you ask for will be accepted. Everything. Because you're broken now. You have no one else to turn back to. And that's when you go to Allah and He accepts what you have to say. Look at how the Imam speaks to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Sometimes in a formal manner. If you look at the beginning of Abu Hamza, it's very formal. And then he moves into a very informal tone with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And then again at the end, it ends in a very formal manner. He tells Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala about committing sins. He says, فَلَوِ اطَّلَعَ الْيَوْمَ عَلَى ذَنْبِ غَيْرُكَ مَا فَعَلْتُ. He says, Allah, in fact, if anyone other than you had been watching me whilst committing a sin, I wouldn't have committed it. How many times have we spoken to Allah like this? Really, if I was walking to a nightclub but I saw Fulan standing there, I wouldn't have walked into it. Why? Because I'm scared of what he's going to say. Yet I know that Allah is watching over me continuously, but I wasn't scared. So now admitting our mistakes to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that if there was anyone but you who was watching me, I wouldn't have committed this sin. وَلَوْ خِفْتُ تَعْجِيلَ الْعُقُوبَةِ لَاجْتَنَبْتُ. And had I anticipated the immediateness of punishment, then I would have avoided doing these sins. If we knew that our mothers were going to hit us as soon as we commit a sin or do something against them, we don't do it. Why? Because we're scared of that immediate punishment. But if your mom tells you, do whatever you want, I'll punish you 50 years later, we'll do whatever we want. In the same way, we know that death is imminent. It can come before we exit the door. But we're not scared. We don't care. Why? Because Allah doesn't punish us right away. He gives us time that this same abd will come back to me. Imam is telling that, saying to Allah. And he says, لَا لِأَنَّكَ أَهْوَنُ النَّاظِرِينَ إِلَيْهِ. Allah, please don't think that this means that you are the least important of those who watches me. I didn't sin against you, Allah, because I thought you were least important. But let me tell you why I sinned against you. Imam continues, وَأَخَفُّ الْمَطَّلِعِينَ عَلَيْهِ. Don't think that you are the least weighty of those who observe me. بَلْ لِأَنَّكَ يَا رَبِّ خَيْرُ السَّاتِرِينَ. Allah, this is why I sinned against you. Because you are the best of those who cover sins. And I know that if I had sinned in front of my friends, my family would have found out. I know if I had sinned in front of my friends, my other friends would have found out. But you are خَيْرُ السَّاتِرِينَ. I know that you cover every single sin that I do, and for that reason, I have continued to commit sins. وَأَحْكَمُ الْحَاكِمِينَ. The wisest of those who judge. سَتَّارَ الْعُيُوبِ غَفَّارُ الذُّنُوبِ. Imam continues. Finally, again, very informal now. Now he starts speaking to Allah heart to heart. Sayyidi, let me tell you who I am. Let me remind myself who I am in the eyes of Allah. Sayyidi, أَنَا الصَّغِيرَ الَّذِي رَبَّيْتَ. Allah, I am the young one that you have nurtured. When you were a clot in your mother's womb, who nurtured you? Who had power over growing? Who fashioned you? Your mother couldn't even ensure that the food she ate reached you. أنا الصغير الذي ربيت وأنا الجاهل الذي علمت. I am that ignorant one that you have taught and given knowledge to. وأنا الضال الذي هديت. I'm the one who was astray and you've brought him back. Very informal type of dua when the Imam speaks heart to heart with Allah. Yet there's many other ad'iyah where the Imam speaks in a very formal language. So to conclude, the secret or the art of communicating with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is to have presence of heart. To make sure what we're saying is actually rooted in our heart. And then say it with the tongue. Not to ask for something that we don't really desire. Not to ask for forgiveness if we're not making any actions or any moves to move towards forgiveness of Allah. And if we have presence of heart, then seize the opportunity of a broken heart. Because in that time, everything will be accepted. The Imams have said it. Everything is accepted in that time of broken-heartedness. And then we talked about the different states of communication. That if you're in a formal state, you need to speak formally to Allah. If you're in a thankful state, you can't start asking for forgiveness. If I'm in a very good mood with you and we're both laughing and all of a sudden I start crying, you think there's something wrong with me. Why? Because the state doesn't entail crying. When you're in a thankful mood, thank Allah. When you're in a state of love, talk to Allah about love. And when you're in a state of forgiveness, ask Allah for forgiveness. Because even that would be a sin. Not shara'i sin, but to want forgiveness in the heart and start talking about love. There's no synchronization between the two. So the purest dua is when the presence of heart is there, and everything is in synchronization. What I say is in synchronization. What I do is in synchronization with my heart. وصلى الله على محمد وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين.